Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
A brand new report just dropped that's going to change how Blue Jays fans think about this entire offseason. We're not just talking about Kyle Tucker or Bo Bichette anymore. There's a third name that keeps surfacing in ways that feel less like background noise and more like a genuine possibility: Alex Bregman. And the more these reports pile up from credible sources, the more real this gets. A Tigers beat writer confirmed yesterday that Detroit has essentially backed out of the Bregman sweepstakes. Their interest has been lukewarm all offseason, and with spring training only 2 months away, they're not showing any movement. But buried in that report was something Blue Jays fans need to pay attention to. 4 teams are actively pursuing Bregman right now: the Blue Jays, Red Sox, Cubs, and Diamondbacks. That's not speculation about who might be interested. That's confirmation of who's actually in the room making offers. This matters because we're past the window where teams are just doing their homework. Any organization still actively involved at this stage is a legitimate finalist. The offseason moves fast once January hits, and if Toronto is still pushing on Bregman, that tells you this isn't just a backup plan or leverage play. This is something they're seriously considering, possibly even prioritizing. What makes this particularly interesting is how consistent the reporting has been. Ken Rosenthal linked the Jays to Bregman weeks ago. Jeff Passan mentioned it. Now we're getting independent confirmation from another reputable source that Toronto remains engaged. When multiple reporters with no connection to each other are all saying the same thing, you have to start believing there's substance behind it. This isn't one guy throwing ideas at the wall. This is a coordinated effort from Toronto's front office that's leaving a trail multiple insiders can follow. So let's talk about what this actually means. There's a realistic scenario where the Blue Jays land both Alex Bregman and Kyle Tucker. Yes, it would cost a fortune, but would it be more expensive than signing both Tucker and Bichette? Probably not, and that's the calculation Ross Atkins is making right now. Bregman posted an .822 OPS last year with 18 homers and exceptional defense at third base. He's the prototypical Ross Atkins player: disciplined, defensively elite, proven in October, someone who raises the floor of your entire roster. The longer these free agencies drag on, the more favorable the landscape becomes for Toronto. There's growing consensus that Kyle Tucker isn't going to hit $400 million. Projections are settling around 12 years and $385 million, which is still massive, but below that psychological barrier. If Bregman's market is similarly cooling as teams fill other needs and budgets get tight, maybe Toronto can strike on both at prices that actually fit their payroll structure. But here's the uncomfortable truth Blue Jays fans need to confront. If you're ranking these 3 players, Tucker, Bichette, and Bregman, Bregman is probably third on that list. So the question becomes, are you satisfied with Alex Bregman if the other 2 don't happen? If Kyle Tucker chooses Philadelphia and Bo Bichette takes more money from San Francisco and Toronto lands Bregman as the fallback, that's still an upgrade over doing nothing. You cannot enter next season without adding a significant bat. After trading Spencer Horwitz and watching your window shrink another year, standing pat would be organizational failure. The scarier scenario is if Toronto is actively choosing Bregman over the other 2. If they're prioritizing defensive versatility or championship experience or some internal metric that values Bregman higher and that leads them to pass on Tucker or Bichette, that's when alarm bells should start ringing. Because while Bregman is very good, he's not Kyle Tucker's level as an offensive force. He's entering his mid-30s, and the kind of contract he'll command could age poorly if his bat slows down even slightly. What's also notable is the shift in reporting around Bo Bichette. Specifically, we're hearing more about the Red Sox, more about the Giants, more about how he'd fit with other organizations. That's not random. When smoke starts building around specific team player combinations this close to decision time, there's usually fire underneath. And the more we hear about Toronto pursuing Bregman, the less we hear about them being aggressive on bringing Bichette back. That tells you something about where their priorities actually lie. John Heyman reported a few days ago that the Blue Jays' biggest move may still be coming, and he specifically said they're weighing either Bichette or Bregman alongside Kyle Tucker. So the framework seems clear. Tucker +1. If you're building the optimal roster, Tucker and Bichette gives you more offensive upside and keeps a homegrown star who knows the organization. Tucker and Bregman gives you better defense, more positional flexibility, and maybe more short-term certainty, but lower ceiling. Chris Iannetta said recently he'd like to see Bregman in Toronto because it's a genuinely good fit. He's right about that. The defense works, the lineup construction makes sense, the championship pedigree from Houston adds credibility. But good fit and best fit aren't the same thing, and Toronto shouldn't settle for good when great might still be available at comparable cost. Meanwhile, the relief pitching market continues evaporating, and Toronto still hasn't made their next move beyond Tyler Rogers. Hunter Harvey just signed with the Cubs. Pete Fairbanks went to Miami. The quality options are disappearing fast, and Toronto desperately needs to address the bullpen before camp opens. Sir Anthony Dominguez is still out there and would be perfect as a high-leverage lefty. Justin Wilson could provide valuable depth. Kirby Yates is available but comes with age-related risk. Looking at what's actually left in free agency for relievers, it's getting sparse quickly. Every day that passes is another arm off the board, and Toronto cannot afford to enter the season with the same bullpen questions that haunted them down the stretch last year. They need at minimum one reliable lefty specialist who can get crucial outs in high-leverage spots against tough matchups. There's been some buzz about Ricky Tiedemann potentially filling that lefty role out of the bullpen. Keegan Matheson wrote that Tiedemann is the player he's most interested in watching this spring, saying it feels like a second wave of Tiedemann hype is building after a few quiet years. If he can stay healthy and contribute, that solves a problem. But you cannot bank your entire bullpen strategy on a prospect with injury history. You need proven commodities when you're supposedly building a contender. The reality is we're approaching the critical decision point. Spring training is 2 months away. These dominoes need to start falling. And when they do, Toronto better be positioned to capitalize. Whether that's Tucker and Bichette, Tucker and Bregman, or some other combination, inaction is not an option. The reports are consistent, the sources are credible, and Bregman keeps appearing in ways that suggest this is far more than just due diligence. So Blue Jays fans need to start preparing for this possibility. If the choice is Bregman or nothing, are you taking Bregman? If it's Bregman and Tucker versus Tucker and Bichette, which pairing do you prefer? These aren't hypothetical exercises anymore. These are the actual decisions Toronto's front office is wrestling with right now, and based on the reporting, Bregman is a very real part of those conversations. The next few weeks will reveal what kind of team the Blue Jays are actually building and whether they're genuinely going all in or settling for something less than their best possible roster.